Hello, everyone. I think we are gonna slowly get started with Jon Moritsugu, who I'm super glad to be able to introduce. This is someone who I heard about a lot upon moving here as an artist and as a filmmaker, and who's from a number of different people in a number of different communities, the film community, the kind of experimental film world, but also people involved in underground comics and the semiotics world at Brown University, people who were just part of like a downtown scene, people who started bands and small magazines and stores. And so I was so thrilled and excited to meet Jon at the farmers market in Manoa and like pick him out and be like, hey, you're famous to me. And I would really like to, get to know you and know more about your work and what you're up to. So I'm just really excited that he's also doing a show with us here at the University of Hawaiʻi at Manoa. It's in the Commons Gallery now, if you haven't been by, and mainly features an event this coming Sunday from 8 to 9 p.m. But there is quite a bit of signage and 7 projectors and speakers and equipment and a smoke machine and other things that are on display now. In anticipation of that. Oh yeah, we just put the event in the chat. Anyway, I would like to welcome Jon and just like talk with him a bit about his work, and also have this as a time for people to talk with him and interact, because I know the installation as it is in the Commons has already generated a lot of buzz and curiosity in our community about like what's about to happen. And yeah, so hey, what's that you're drinking there?
Oh, hey, I'm drinking goat milk. I'm on a 8-day goat milk fast, just to like cleanse stuff and whatnot. So yeah, day five. I drink like a gallon of this a day. It's sick, but it's delicious. Yummy.
Am I not supposed to ask like why you would do that? Why would you do that? What's going on?
I mean, in a generic, basic way, I can say just to detox, but it's really a parasite cleanse. So everything from little microscopic stuff to really bigger things, the goat milk draws the parasites out, and then the pills flush them out of your system. So it's a way to keep clean. I have bugs in your system. It's nuts. It's crazy and fun and not fun at the same time.
Okay, let's start with your films, because I guess even though we're putting you on display here in an art context, you are primarily a filmmaker.
Yes.
How did you get started with that?
I always was interested in movies, and in high school I dabbled around, made some Super 8 movies, went to Brown University, and I sort of had movies and art on the sideline. I really wanted to be a history major and study history, write historical books, just study American history. And I lasted for about a year in the department. It just was like too much history. So I switched majors, and that's when I said, wow, I'm gonna, check out this passion that I had as a kid, which was movie making. And so there wasn't a movie making program at Brown, so it was semiotics, which is just like this elitist language, artsy talk, like a language that was invented to keep most of the people in the dark. But I enrolled in the program in order to get to the film equipment, and that's how I started making movies. Got out of school and just said, instead of going into the industry and working on these big Hollywood movies, I'm going to just figure out a way to make my movies on my terms over the weekends and in free time, and just see where this goes.
So wait, so that was a pretty famous department though, right? Because
like Todd Haynes was there, and he, Todd Haynes, Velvet Goldmine, just Blue Jasmine, all those big movies. Yeah, he was a couple years ahead of me, but I knew him. There's another woman. What is it? Jacobson, and she actually was the producer of all the Hunger Game movies. So we had quite a few illustrious like graduates of the department who actually went out and blazed a trail straight into Hollywood and like really did some really big stuff. And I, on the other hand, chose to be like the worm and sort of crawl on the ground and go underground.
The worm that gets flushed out by the
right. And so now I've been in the underground too long with too many worms in my system. So that's why the goat milk got to flush these suckers out.
So what do you think drew you to that, like choice in relation to maybe like power, if like some of your classmates were going for Hollywood right off the bat, and what made you go like, this is my thing, I'm going to make independent films?
I got totally inspired by the punk music movement. And so I was inspired by all these bands and record labels and promoters and clubs. And so I said, I really was in love with this stuff. And I said, I want to do my filmmaking like the same way these people are doing music, which is very passionate, less about the money, more about just sort of trying to do it yourself with your friends and getting the work out there in maybe a DIY, economical, Marxist sort of way. So I said, yeah, this is for me. I'm being inspired by these punk rock bands who are self-releasing records, booking their own tours, playing in clubs that their friends have created. So I said, that's what I should be doing with movies. I'm going to make my own movies, book them, distribute them, network with people. But it just made perfect sense for me what I was interested in. And then just this whole movie making thing and maybe a slightly different way of doing it.
And what kind of like clubs, where were you encountering that scene, like here on, I guess you grew up here in Oahu?
I grew up on Oahu. There was a pretty small scene, but by the time I got to the East Coast, there's a lot of stuff. I was in New England, but like 3 hours away from New York. So I was always going down there, and there's like CBGB's Pyramid Club, all kinds of awesome small and big clubs just all over the East Coast. So that's where I was catching my music. And there were also springing up some like cool film organizations like in Boston and New York City. And so I was like getting my equipment from some of these places and just sort of getting inspired to make my movies. Almost like I'm a musician who's not playing music, who's not in a band, but the movie has become the band, has become the music, has become the thing to promote and, tour the country with the movie instead of in a van with, your band.
Well, I guess they're really also like collaborative activities that you can do with a group of friends if you're inspired and like, I don't know, driven enough. I don't know how to make a movie, but you've had a collaborator for a long time for you.
Yeah, and there were so many like cool film centers too, places where if you weren't in school, it was really hard to get equipment, really expensive equipment, and you could pay like a membership fee, like Film Arts Foundation San Francisco, $50 a year would get you access to this really low priced, awesome equipment and workshops and editing facilities. So there were all these like networks of these little like community centers and film centers sort of spawning all these messed up, cool independent filmmakers. Like
what were some of the ones? What were some of the ones in New York?
New York had I don't even remember the name of this. They used to put out the magazine called The Independent. They got huge. Association for Independent Video and Film. I think they're gone, but they had like thousands of members. You could even get like health insurance and dental insurance through this. All you have to do is say, I'm an independent filmmaker. I'm going to sign up. I pay my dues. Now I have access to like insurance. They were really powerful and rad. And so, yeah, there are these places you could just sort of pop in and get your batteries charged up, find people to help you on your movie, get the equipment real cheap.
Yeah. When I was just like not even, I was just like a little parasite, I don't know, whatever ad metaphors we're dealing with in Rochester, New York. I like interned or something at this place called Visual Studies Workshop, and they had a bunch of like camera equipment. And
cool.
I think the argument was like, is it the First Amendment? That thing, like they're like, people don't have access to the means of producing media and producing news. And so the whole ethos was about like giving individuals that access and like artists that access and people who weren't like, I guess the 5 major networks or something at that time, access to cameras. Like it was rare, you had to like be part of something to get that equipment because it was so expensive.
Yeah, I mean, that even happened here in Honolulu with that Olelo station. I mean, I just sort of got back, so I don't know what they're up to, but back even like 10 years ago, it was public access TV, and a lot of people are like, public access, who wants to do that? You're just a couple of like drunk guys on screen telling jokes. But it really was like high powered with really well produced shows. And the public access station in Honolulu at the time, like 10, 15 years ago, was like one of the best equipped public access stations on the earth. So people were like, oh my God, you're from Hawaii. They have awesome public access equipment. All you have to do is learn to use the equipment, take some classes, get certified, and then you can do a TV show using all this like $1 million equipment. I mean, this stuff is still out there.
Did you ever do that? Or like?
No, I never did it. I just was like, I'm going to do my own indie films. But
Yeah.
I found that anytime you have a community or a town with this stuff going, it just helps everyone. This type of energy helps everyone.
Were there any good shows that you could tune into? Or like,
yeah, I mean, I don't really remember them. I mean, some were local, like we're going to go eat at local restaurants, and they were like lo-fi, but really entertaining. There was, I think, a surf show. There were nature shows. There were a lot of documentaries. I haven't checked out Olelo. I don't even know if they're around. I think they are, but just like a variety of stuff. And some of it was really fun.
Can I ask you about, I mean, this might be jumping timeline a bit. I don't know when you graduated from college and like.
I graduated in '87. Brown University, yeah. I'm the old dude.
I kind of want to get to Terminal USA, which was, I guess, 93.
93, yeah, that's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Some of you weren't born.
Great film. I mean, epically great movie with that. Can you just tell me a bit about the story of that? Like, how did that even come to be? Like, PBS produced it, which seems so nuts.
This is the like inspiring story where, I mean, there's so many people sitting out there saying, I want to make a movie, or I want to write a book, or have a project. I have something in me that I got to get out to the world. And it's gotten really hard to do that. And you're looking for help, you're looking for people, you're looking for money, and you start getting desperate and hopeless, and then you give up the dream. I'm here to tell you with this story that all these dreams totally can come true. So with Terminal USA, I had been making these like really low budget movies, like a feature for like $5,000, like really low budget by movie making standards. And they had a competition, a writing competition for PBS TV. And they were like, we want to get your ideas, and whoever has like the best ideas, we're going to give you like almost $500,000 to do a 1-hour TV show. And my first impulse was, I'm not going to do this because I'm not going to get it. I haven't gotten any of these awards. I'm just underground, who cares? And then something like that little voice in my tummy said, hey, you got to go for it. This might be the one. You never know. So I had the application form. It was due the next day. I had to FedEx it out. It was old days before internet, so you had to FedEx stuff out. And instead of doing it the traditional way, I had been doing these applications really meticulously and proofreading them and spending weeks rereading stuff and reprinting and just really being anal about it. And for this one, I said, wow, I only have half a day. I've struck out being meticulous with this, so I'm going to be the opposite. I'm going to be ultimate punk rock crazy with this. So I just got a Sharpie marker out, and they had like a 10-page application, all these really heavy, intense questions. And I just wrote like really rude one-word answers. Like one of the questions was, tell us where your movies have played and all the awards your movies have played. And then they had one page where you're supposed to list individually all 50 of your movie screenings and your awards. And I was like, I don't have time for that. I don't want to do this. So I just, with the Sharpie, wrote the word worldwide. That's where I played, worldwide, all over the earth. And it was sort of on this level that I got the whole thing done. I threw dirt on it, stomped on the paperwork, and then FedExed it out. And then 2 weeks later, they call me back and they're like, you made it to the semifinal round. We have 20 people. We're going to give each of you $10,000 to write a script, and you have 2 weeks to get it done. So do it. So I got $10,000, quit my day job, and said, I have 2 weeks to write the script. And then at that point, I said, I got to get serious. And then I was like, no, if I get serious, I'm going to blow it. I've been so lucky doing things the wrong way. I got to continue. So I just drank a whole bunch of Coca-Cola and stayed up for like 45 hours straight, typed out a script, and sent them the first draft of Terminal USA. It was totally messed up. It didn't make sense. It had like characters that just disappeared, you had stories that disappeared. It was sort of a mess, but it was funny and it was really rude. And I mailed this out to them and forgot about it. And then 2 weeks later, they wrote me back and they're like, you got it. You got the almost $500,000, John. Congratulations. So that's how it happened. And I'm so glad I went for it. And I'm so glad I tried a different way of doing things. And I'm so glad I was still dreaming, just like dreaming of this stuff. So yeah, you gotta go for it and try different things to, get your success or your foot in the door. And that, in a nutshell, is how Terminal USA got started. And it was a really big project, and we had a huge bigwig on it, James Seamus. He used to run Focus Features. That was the biggest movie company on the earth, and he was head of it. He's won all these Oscars, and he works with the filmmaker Ang Lee. And James was the executive producer for this, and we didn't get along, and I basically told him to screw off. And he had been grooming me to be the next Ang Lee. And he just was like, John, man, there hasn't been an Asian American independent director yet who's a star. You're next. I'm going to choose you. Let's groom you to be the next Asian superstar director. And I just said, no, James, you're full of crap. I'm going to do this on my own. I'm punk rock. Screw you. And I gave him the finger and walked away. And we stopped talking pretty much. And he then met Ang Lee, and Ang Lee's career skyrocketed. So it was a funny project of just like meeting people, then burning bridges. And looking back on it, I think I did in business every single thing wrong, but it's still funny. I wouldn't redo anything, but it's an example of what not to do in business. So I got the grant. That's what to do in business. Take chances, do things differently, don't give up hope, dream. But then once I got the money and started making the movie, I did everything wrong. I was like, this is my movie. These are my ideas. I'm so smart. I'm not going to listen to these experts. Screw them. I'm all on my own. I'm the lone wolf. And then the movie sort of collapsed. I fell apart, and I lost the help of all these major allies out in the world. It was sort of sad and totally funny at the same time.
It's such a hard like at the beginning of the story I was like, okay, I get the meaning of the story. The lesson is like, take the Sharpie, do it punk rock, like stomp on it and send it out there. I was like, I had chills. I was like, this is it, this is the game plan. But then it's like, wait, are you saying like, should you have shifted gears at some point?
You know what it should have been? There's nothing wrong with punk rock, but you've got to have a heart. And I had no heart. I was punk rock and ruthless, but I was sort of like, I don't want to collaborate with people. I don't want someone's help. This guy is a producer attached to millions of dollars. What does he know? I've got $100 in my bank account. I'm smarter than him with finances. And it was like such a backwards way of thinking, just not being able to, or not allowing myself to accept help from other people and really judging people. I was like, this guy's a producer with a lot of money, so that means he's a bad guy. Instead of like, you can have lots of money, you can have no money, you can be good or bad. It just really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you're.
I don't know, but that movie is, I mean, if I can say, it's like a masterpiece. Like it's so good. It
turned out great.
Like the movie itself is kind of impeccable as a thing. So I don't know. Maybe you did the right thing.
I mean, it was one of those things where I think the movie turned out great, but behind the scenes, we had so many problems on the movie set, like firing people who were stealing money, and junkies and drug dealing and scabies and food fights because people were getting like one of our producers for a dinner, she got chicken necks because she had lived in China. So she was used to eating chicken necks all the time. So she got 40 pounds of chicken necks to feed the whole cast and crew. And people like, we're working a crazy schedule. So it's 2 a.m. We're going to eat dinner and people are starving. And there's like 50 people. And suddenly it's a trays of chicken necks and chicken legs. And people just were like, we're not going to eat this. And they had a rebellion. I mean, it was like, it's funny now, but it was like a totally messed up movie.
Where were you filming it?
San Francisco.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing. All of Terminal USA is epic, and I don't even know how to describe it for people, I guess, because we're not like screening it or anything. But how can people see it if they want to see it?
It's actually streaming up. There's a streaming site that actually has all my movies, including Terminal USA, and it's called, what the heck is it called? Hold on one sec. I'm totally spacing on this. Zerb. Yeah, they're called Zerb TV, XERB TV.com. They're streaming all my movies. They're a small company, but they have some cool stuff. And hey, if you're a little low on the cash, I think they have a freebie where you can sign up and get like a week free and try it out, and then you can quit. So if you want to check out the movies, just figure out a week where you have a little more time, sign up, watch the movies, and quit. Because I understand that, sometimes you don't want
to see some of your films. Because I was like, I want to get, like check this stuff out. Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't even know what to say the influences are for you, even movie-wise. I mean, I'm just not like a movie person, but there's some like of that like eyeball gore in there, and there's some like, I don't know. John Waters, yeah.
And I think there's like some artsy stuff too, like American artsy stuff like Warhol, Kenneth Anger, maybe some of the more experimental people scratching on film and stuff like that. I like a lot of this American experimental stuff. And I think a lot of the movies are also just a throwback to like music videos, band movies and stuff like that. I definitely was influenced a lot by just music in movies and bands and rock and roll in movies and, you know, the media and stuff like that.
It's also, I mean, it's a kind of a story about some like kids in high school and like America, but they're Asian. So was any of that, did it feel, you know, part of your growing up experience at all here in Hawaii? Or
yeah, I mean, a couple scenes from the movie, I actually lifted dialogue from dialogue that happened in my house growing up with my mom or my sister or my dad or whatever. And my whole point with Terminal USA is it came out in '93, and you know, there's definitely a new awareness about identity and race and Asian stuff, like Asian pride, whatnot, you know, in the last maybe year or two. But in '93, I still say it was a lot worse than now, where really in the mainstream media, the only ways you'd see Asians portrayed as like a gardener who doesn't speak English, or someone doing a stir fry in the restaurant, or someone running the laundromat. That's, you know, ESL speaking, like good at math, bowing at everyone characters. That's all the Asians I ever saw on TV, unless it was like a local show. And so I said with Terminal USA, I want to just do something totally different, which is grab Asians, put them on the screen, but just have them doing outlandish, crazy stuff that you wouldn't expect Asians to be doing, i.e. running around being crazy, i.e. Selling drugs, stuff like that. So I said, I'm going to try to break every Asian stereotype that we've been hit with this movie, Terminal USA. So that was part of the impetus. Just let's get some crazy Asian content out there just to blow people's minds and maybe just make them more aware of stuff.
Yeah, it actually seems really significant in that respect and timely and like something important to watch. I guess we're almost running out of time talking. I feel like I want to like talk about every movie along the way, but maybe I should just ask you about showing the films within an art context, since that's kind of what we're doing. And I think it creates its own set of issues and like choices and
absolutely. I mean, when you think of movies, there's certain ways you consume them. Recently we have new methods, like, you know, watching a movie with this thing. That's pretty new. But I had a chance a few years ago to have a film screening in New York City in an art gallery. And when I started talking to them, we were like, what are we going to do? Put up like these podiums with a little TV monitor, and you walk into the art gallery quietly and gaze at the podium, and, you know, one of my movies is playing. I was like, this is like the worst setting for watching my movies. They're crazy, chaotic movies. You want to be with your friends. You want to yell. You want to scream. You want to scream back at the screen, stuff like that. So, you know, we figured out that a better way of showing the movies would be to just make it chaotic. So in the New York show, we had 7 movies playing at once, overlapping in this crazy gallery that looked like a dungeon. It was like in a bank vault, really rad. So that show went over great. And then for this show, I wanted to raise it and not just redo the same New York show, but add more elements to it. So we definitely added more elements. With the location and the glass, it's almost like you can't touch the movies. You can't enter the movie space. It's almost like a different timeline in there, which is really cool. I like that. And I was thinking about it this morning, but you know, movies are sort of like abstract. They're sort of like vapor or dust. You can't really grab them or hold them. You can keep them in your memory, but movies are really dreamlike. And I think with this show, you actually have substance or a weight or objects that sort of represent the movies. It just being in a gallery with all this machinery, I don't know. It's almost like with this show, you can finally like physically hold a movie. It sounds sort of weird, but I think it makes movies less dreamlike and more like real in your face. The other thing was like the movie is called Hyperreality. I wanted to just, I don't know, look into different levels of reality. We all have different timelines, different realms we're living in. And it sounds like, no, I'm only sitting in here, you know, on the earth, on this chair. I'm only in one place, but we're, you know, in a million places at once, whether it's you're on Insta or you're talking to someone here, or this is happening or that. I mean, we have all these multiple realities, and some of them have become a lot stronger than other realities. I know a lot of people where this reality is so much bigger, stronger, more important than their physical body and where they're sitting and what their house looks like. And this is the world people want to be in. So this show is also about just the nature of these realities we've constructed, what we've chosen to enter. And in a weird way, this big glass box filled with the smoke in the movies, that is another reality. We're all entering hyper realities. We pop in and pop out, and it gets really confusing. And it's a weird phenomenon. I think it's really cool, but I also think it could be a little dangerous too, people popping in and out and not being grounded and whatnot. But yeah, that was another thing I wanted to just toss out there, is this idea of different realities. And it's also a 1 hour show. And, you know, in the world of art, especially these days, how do you go see a live art show? How do you go to an art gallery? So many museums and galleries are using the internet and the media as a way of presenting shows. So I said, let's go all out and actually do a show which 99.99999% of the population on the earth cannot make it to. There's just no way certain people can fly to Hawaii for this 1 hour show, right? And so how do these people see the show? And that's what this is going to explore. Again, all these different realities that are created out of the show, that we create, that other people create. But this show might even be more consumable and easier to watch through another reality than actually going to the physical event, watching for an hour. It might be easier to absorb in 5 minutes if it's in a different realm, i.e. the internet. I don't know, we're gonna see, but that's what I wanted to explore too, just this whole idea of art show, but what does it mean? Where is it? Where's it located?
I love this show so much, and working with you so much has been so kind of mind expanding. And I always just really want to use the galleries here as laboratories to experiment with ideas. And I feel like
cool.
there's been a chance to really test out a set of visions. Like, I feel like we're constantly coming up at the edge of something, like doing it, which has been just like such a pleasure with all the different departments at the university that have had to like come and check out what we're doing and be like, oh, like actually using the smoke machine does this to the AC, or, you know, like stuff like that has just been really, really actually great and like kind of fun. And I used to,
just what you said about it being a laboratory, galleries being a laboratory workshop. I love that, like in change, in flux, trying new ideas, being flexible, instead of, there's another view of the gallery as like this staid, uptight, clean, elitist place where people are just doing commerce. And that's another view of the gallery. But I really like your approach. And yeah, this whole project, every day, it seems like we're making little adjustments and thinking on the fly and figuring out new ways to get things done. I think that's
really alive. Yeah.
I mean, and in the old days too, you had someone like Thomas Edison, you know, what invented the light bulb, inventor, a scientist, but he had like a little movie studio and he made some of the first motion pictures. And it's sort of cool to think of Thomas Edison as like an artist, because here's an artist who wasn't pretentious, but he had his workshop, his laboratory, where he was creating his inventions, but also his art. And that, I'd like to think we're sort of doing the same thing, maybe as not as far-reaching as Edison, but sort of the same vibe, like art, science, social stuff, media, it all sort of gets smushed together right here.
I should also say you've been making films all along. So, oh, we have, are we screen sharing this?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, little preview. But I do want to like mention that you've made, I don't know, I mean, more than 7 films, right?
Yeah, I've made like 20 movies, like 7 features and a whole bunch of shorts. I collaborate with my wife. She started out, we met in like the late 80s, Amy Davis. And she started out just acting in the movies, and just over the years, she ended up doing more and more and more till now we're co-creating the movies, which is totally challenging, but just I think the best thing. And it's sort of like what I was saying before about being the punk rock with the heart. You got to be. I feel it's really important to have that heart space to be able to open up and collaborate with people, to just say, hey, I might be wrong. I don't know the answer. I've got to listen to someone else. That's been one of the hardest things for me in life. I feel I'm just starting to learn that. But yeah, in the old days, I just made so many mistakes through my stupidity and my ignorance and being cavalier, just like, we're going to do it my way. I don't know what's going on, but I know I'm right. And then it turns out to be wrong. And so, yeah, Amy, definitely collaborating with her has been awesome, because it's been like a mind-blowing experience. And again, I want to be like punk rock, no nonsense, you know, shaking things up, making waves, but also with the heart. You know, I think that's the key right there, with compassion.
Do people want to jump in and just talk? I feel like we could just, have people be around and on video and whatever, and talk to John or even, talk about some of these ideas about things. I'm always really struck by how artists are using, certain media, like you were talking about the internet or Instagram, or when I started out like having a small gallery back in 2000, I had this image that we wouldn't put anything online. Also kind of one of these like maybe ultimately kind of self-defeating things. But I was really like, yeah, we're just gonna have a website with no images, super serious, just text, all, going down. And then, people have to come in person. And it was just so amazing to see what happened with the internet between 2000 and, like 2019 or 2018 when it shut down, and just see how like powerless that move had been in relation to like the world of images kind of ultimately kind of ruling everything. But that was definitely an intention at the very start. All right, we have some chat about, okay, hey Gay, what's up? Jump in.
Hi, John.
Hi.
So, yeah, I heard you say compassion too.
Yeah.
Say more. Like, can you be more specific? I just want to understand what you...
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if that's the right word, but I think like art can be really, really dangerous. It was dangerous for me because it becomes this like self activity that's all consuming, that takes over your life, and you just get so obsessed with your work and yourself that you stop thinking about others. And it can really inform your work. I mean, that's the way I was when I started out in filmmaking. It was like 24/7, every free moment I had to be making a movie or promoting a movie. I had like no free time, really, no social life, just hardcore making a movie, but it was all wrapped up in my ego and myself. Like, this movie represents me. If this movie succeeds, I'm good. It was like a weird form of validation, and it stopped working after a while. I was less happy. And so when I'm saying compassion, just like stuff in life, I think that art is not separate from life, but is part of life. And so how you would conduct your life, how you would treat your friends and family, that's the way I think you've got to treat people while you're making your art. It isn't like a special circumstance where you can just be egotistical and mean because it's your art. I feel that compassion has to be everywhere in your life. And I've sort of learned that the hard way. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I just wanted to see if you were talking about your, like the practice itself or like a more expanded worldview.
It's both. And even just on a movie set, movies are like being in the army. You have different levels, and on the big movies, it gets really messed up where you have certain places that these people can sit, but if you're a lowly cast member or crew member, you can't sit in certain areas. It really is regimented, and that's one of the problems I have with movie making. I think you have to have this organization hierarchy to get a movie made, but there's so much like of an ego battle and power tripping. So again, that's a moment. If you're sort of in charge of things, you've got to have a heart and make it comfortable for people and still see everyone's human out there.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I'm just gonna go for it. Thank you so much, John, for coming. I really appreciate your transparency and coming here and talking. I was wondering if you could go back into time when you were at that point in school where you're deciding, okay, well, I really like making films. I'm going to use my free time to do it.
Yeah.
And as your career like progressed, like what advice would you give to yourself if you had the chance to go back into time like that?
Wow. I mean, the first thing I would say is just what I've been talking about, like, hey, have some heart. So that's the first thing I would have told the old me, like, hey, come on, bro, be human, be a human. You're dealing with humans. You're not being a human, be a human now. So that's the first thing. I think the second thing I tell myself is, wow, this is a really good question. I think the second thing I would tell myself is have fun. I mean, I've had a bunch of fun on my movies, fun doing things, but there also have been times where I've made it unfun. So it's another I would tell myself like, hey man, just have fun. You're doing what you want to do. You're going after your dream. You're making the movie you want to make. Have fun. That's something I'm trying to do more. Just have a little more fun.
I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think those would be the two things I tell the old me. And also, you know, if it was the old me from the 80s, I would be like, do the goat milk fast. Goat milk.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Right?
I am super interested. I want to understand more about the goat milk. You need to start a blog. Do a blog.
Yeah.
Talk
yeah.
about your
Right.
goat milk. Also,
yeah,
I need to hear.
I'm going to just pop it out there. There's, you know, Gwyneth Paltrow. She has a site called Goop, Goop, and they talk about the goat milk. And they have a link to a doctor who has helped me, but basically this is who you would talk to get the goat milk supplies. But you can Google it. It's called like goat milk fast. It's 8 days, and you never should do it on your own. You have to be with a doctor and get the pills from the doctor, and they're just herbal pills. But yeah, it can be weird and dangerous if you do it on your own. So never do it on your own. Don't just grab the goat milk and start drinking.
Okay.
Right, but it's a cool thing. It's just, hey, here's the other thing. One more bit of advice. And this is like, I putting myself back, you know, to the 80s, I would have told myself, hey, John, take care of yourself. I mean, in the old days, I was like living like a maniac, like getting no sleep, staying up for days in a row, just overworking, abusing my body, just doing stupid stuff to make the movies. And looking back on it now, I'm like, hey, I wish I had been there, an older me, to tell the younger me to just cool it, take care of yourself more, learn how to cook, make some good foods, take care of your body, and actually the work will be produced quicker and it'll come out quicker and you'll make more movies if you're grounded and healthy. So yeah, that was the other thing. I just had this punk rock attitude. Yeah, the more wasted I am and the more tired I am and the more dirty I am, the better the movie is going to be. And it might have worked at the beginning, but after a while it stopped working.
Yeah. If you're not okay,
right?
Nothing you're gonna do is gonna be okay, you know.
Yeah.
But I also too want to know. I don't mean to waste people's time, but I really want to know the conclusion of that like chicken neck situation. You guys just ordered pizzas or something, or like?
Yeah, so it was a food riot. People were really upset, and we ended up at the last minute. We just were like, we have to order like 20 pizzas or whatever, or 10 pizzas. We ordered the pizzas. And at that point, the movie was half shot and it just really started going downhill. Yeah, and like even bad ways, like someone broke into the office and stole money. And we're just like, man, this is sort of like our family. Someone broke in and stole the money. What's going on here? Like, it's just like stuff that makes you, you know, say, man, this isn't that much fun.
I just popped on to say, I think Koharu has a question. So I'm going to call it.
Yeah. Oh my God. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for being here too. It's good to see you.
I'm also a filmmaker. And I lived in, I don't know if you know, Olympia, Washington, where it's like the center of punk. Yeah.
That's a cool town with all the, like, you go into the diner and they used to have like spigots of the crystal water from the streams and stuff running.
Yeah. It's a weird town. So I lived there for a few years. So that whole like punk rock mentality and art was like so like put onto me and inspired me. And I like, just like you also have, when I dedicate myself into my films, or I'm also getting into like video art and installation, I kind of live like a maniac, and then I go into this like depressive hole and I never finish projects, and I'm like feeling really
hard,
bad.
Huh?
But yeah, it is. So I totally feel you when you were saying that, like better taking better care of yourself. But then it makes me feel like I'm losing touch with my creative process, and then that's like a whole other hard thing. But I wanted to ask, I feel like right now with the pandemic, like you mentioned, like a lot of creatives are feeling like burnout in a lot of way, and that like we're in this digital age and we're just constantly facing the screen for our own work or whatever. And then at the end of the day, like personally myself, like I just don't want to make things like I used to, because I don't want to face it in a lot of ways. I don't know if that makes sense. And also this expectation, like now that we have Instagram and so much social media, like artists being called like content creators, which is, I think, so harmful, like that you're creating things for just to get it out there for other people. Like this mentality that you're making things for other people has been so like strongly put through social media, I think. Do you have any like advice? Like what, I guess my question is like, what keeps you creatively motivated that still makes you feel like I need to make this, you know, I need to keep making this film without feeling that burnout?
Yeah, that's a tough one, because I mean, I've been working on a feature now for a few years, and it's been really hard just with everything going on in my life. It's just been hard to finish it. And I don't know, I think one of the keys is just we have so many distractions around us. And in order for these distractions not to affect us, we've got to have like a really cool, meaningful idea behind the movie, something that means something to you. And I think that's the difference between you and just a content creator. Content creators maybe creating material for other people to absorb. It can be good, bad, informational, whatever, but maybe there isn't that heart connection to what they're creating. It's like, hey, I'm going to go review all the boba tea places in Honolulu. Yeah, that's good content. And I don't really want to do it, but I'm going to put it on my blog because people are going to tune in and maybe I'll make some money, blah, blah, blah. And so I think the key for you, because you are an artist and it's different from a content creator, it's different from someone posting their family photos of their kid, you know, on the Insta, is just to really dig down deep and find something that really is so meaningful for you that you know in a year it's still going to be meaningful. So that a year from now, if you're still working on it, you know you can get through it because it still has that meaning. So I would say dig deep. And at this point, just make work about what's so powerful and meaning to you, because that emotion is going to help you to complete it. I also think this COVID actually, and the isolation, the pandemic, it's been terrible, but it's been good for the point of view of it's made all of us have to like sit in a room, look in the mirror and face our reality, who we are, what we've done, where we're going. And that's such a good jumping off place to get to the deep stuff, to see what means stuff to you, to see who you really are, what you're about with all the noise removed. COVID has really stripped down life. And I found people either go up or go down. And so you want to be one of those people who go up. So if you're having a hard time through COVID, get in touch with these feelings. And it's going to tell you, these feelings are going to tell you what's important to you, what you want to do, what you don't want to do, what you're happy about in your life, what you're sad about, etc. And grab these feelings and use this as the inspiration to do some art. I think with that emotion there, it'll keep it from just being content. It'll be pure, your personal vision, your personal work, your art. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So use the COVID and the terror and fear you've had the last 2 years. Dig down deep, and you might cry. It might be intense, but give yourself even just like just say, I'm not going to see anybody today. I'm not going to even pick up my phone. But this one day, I'm going to dig down deep and think of all my emotions for the last couple of years and the ups and downs, and what does this mean, and how does this translate into something I've got to say to the world? I've got to say it. Not I want to say it. Oh, I want to do a blog about the boba tea places. I want to do it. No, what do you have to say? Like, you're going to die if you don't say it. And that's going to be your next movie or your next work.
Yeah, I'm in the middle. Before the pandemic, I started a documentary about my Japanese family and like connecting with my own ancestry as like the next person. And like, it was a really emotional journey. And then the pandemic hit in the middle of me editing and trying to finish the film. And that whole idea of like family and identity shifts, right? So the world is different.
Well,
and
this is cool
how do I finish this film? Like, it's like, you know.
You know what? You're going to add layers on it. It's like you bought a house, you painted the room white, and you're like, man, this is a terrible color. I want to paint it purple. So throw on that coat of purple, add to it. But the fact is, you've started and you have a passion for it. You've said you've already cried. This is emotional stuff. I think this is a cool project if it's making you feel that. And don't be afraid to change it, because we all change. And when we change, our art changes. Just dive into it and make. Once you make that first change, it's going to start flowing really nicely. But you have to have the courage to, I don't know if you're editing it, but turn on the machine and just dive in. As soon as you get off this, if you have like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just make one change to your movie and say, hey, I'm starting the revised version because life has been different for me now. This movie is going to be way better and way different.
All right. Yeah.
That's what I would do, maybe.
I've been very hesitant to do that, so I'll take this as
you do it. Okay, if you're hesitant to do it, like down in the gut of your tummy, like you makes you nervous, and then you avoid it and forget about it.
Yeah,
that means you got to do it. I do the same thing. Like I have to edit today. I have to look at this footage. Oh, my tummy. Oh, I'm going to go to the beach, and then you'll have a terrible day because you're not doing what you were born to do. Be an artist. Say your words. Get it out there and change people's lives. Help people who are going through hard stuff. You want to do that. I know you do. So for real, when you get off this thing right now, in fact, you have our permission to excuse yourself right now. Get out of here and make that edit. And then you can say, this is a great day today because I officially started redoing my movie and making it better.
Cool.
But do it. It'll just take 10 minutes.
All right.
You're going to feel so good and pat yourself on the back and say, wow, I'm so freaking brave. I'm brave. I'm good.
Thank you. Yeah.
I love having you, Jon. We're out of time.
Okay.
For this, but we have Jon's presentation on Sunday at the Commons Gallery, 8 to 9 p.m. What can I say about that? Parking is free.
It's going to be so fun. We have some cool giveaways and stuff. So it's free. It's an experience. It's just something like
in person. We'll be there.
Yeah. And we're going to all be there. It's almost like just an art party. We just want to have fun and have people scream and laugh and almost like a playground, but it's just going to be a fun
We'll have
time.
masks on, but we haven't done anything actually physical in person at the galleries since March 2019. So
wow.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. This is awesome.
So thank you so much for being here today to talk with us a bit about your work. You can find out a lot more. I think Olivia put up a crazy number of links in the chat. So, and yeah, that was really great. I really appreciate you taking the time today and sharing your work with us.
Yeah, thank you everyone. You're all the best. You guys rock. Keep making your movies, and yeah, just do it with a heart. Do it with your heart. The heart will lead you, and you'll make amazing work. All the best movies have a heart. You got to have a heart in your movie, and you have to have a heart. Thanks everyone. See you on Sunday. Thanks. Bye-bye.